Monday with the Mavens coming at you. Sorry, guys. We're still, we just have bigger fish to fry than figuring out how to stream our media all in one place. So we will get to it. I feel like I've been saying that every week now for several weeks.
We have, but this is our first time together in 3
a long
weeks
time.
on a Monday.
Yeah,
I know. So we've missed doing this, and we're really looking forward to today. We tried to pick a relaxing environment with a little something to sit.
Oh, can we turn the fan off behind us?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you want the fire on? So today we're talking about stress and the different types of stresses and its effect on our metabolism and our ability to shed fat and what we can do about it. So we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's a big subject.
It's a big subject and a really important one because we all have stress in life, and stress in itself is not always a bad thing, but how our bodies react to that stress and our stress resiliency and our tools to combat stress and how it affects our ability to be our best self, like we do have some control on that. If you guys are just joining us, welcome. So happy to have you guys here. I think we should have a little extra fun today.
Oh, okay.
I think just to kind of gamify it a little bit, we get a lot of messages after the fact, which we're super thankful for. What if we do a little mini giveaway to a random person that maybe between today and tomorrow comments on this live with a question, an observation, a tip, a tool. So you can comment on Facebook, you can comment on Instagram. We'll repost this after the fact. So you can have a conversation in here. On Instagram, it takes away the comments. Once we repost it on Facebook, it keeps them. So minor detail, but let us know. Ask us a question, share a thought, whatever it may be, wherever you're watching, and tomorrow we'll just pick a little random winner. And
what do they win? It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Something cool. We like to do that.
Yeah, we do.
But as always, if you guys have questions while you're watching and or want to join in the conversation or contribute in any way, please, for sure, comment below. We will do our best to watch those. Right now, depending on what is in your environment, maybe grab some water, some tea, take a deep breath, stand up, whatever you might find that naturally relaxes you. And we're going to talk about a whole slew of things and why it's important to have an arsenal of tools to combat stress.
I took some notes today.
Looky.
Actually.
I love it.
Yeah. I wanted to come prepared because I think that sometimes we can talk about things that don't necessarily seem like they have a technical nature to them, and they actually do. And I wanted to get it right. I didn't want to be like, I think. So I actually wrote down some things just so that I wouldn't forget. Because I want you guys to know like how, stress actually affects your body. Like what are the chemical reactions happening inside your body when you are stressed? And we're going to talk about that a bit today.
I know, and talk about being technical. We won't go this deep, but I actually brought diagrams.
Oh my gosh.
On hormone pathways and the stress effects on them, and then how your body utilizes glucose differently when you're under stress, and the HPA and HPT axis and the effect on thyroid with your stress, and female-specific effect on menstrual cycle with stress. And so we don't have to go down into the weeds.
I did not do that.
It's like, you guys, it's crazy. And I've had stress ravage my body in the past. And you guys, I don't want to bore you with the details, but my goodness, like when we can get that in check, because in a nutshell, and we're going to go into this in a lot deeper way, but in a nutshell, there's different types of stressors. There are like the emotional stress. There is like internal gut type stress. There is like a viral type of stress, like in your body viruses. But external stressors and their effect on your nervous system, which then has a significant correlation and effect on your endocrine system, which is your ability to produce hormones. Or how your hormone harmony or your hormone hurricane, and then that effect on your immune system and all of that and how it works with your metabolism.
And it's all married, just like almost everything that we talk about on here. All of our body systems are married to each other, and so one thing affects the rest, and it's kind of this pretty amazing cycle. Our bodies are so incredible, and the way that we were designed is so, I don't know, it's like a miracle that we don't have to think about the things that are happening inside our body. It just happens.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for that, because I think that I do enough damage to my own body without thinking about it. And so the fact that I'm not in control of some of these systems is kind of good. But there are things you can do to help be in control of these things.
There are, and we are going to get to those. But we touched on it a minute ago. Let's just start with like the 3 main types of stress. And so we just briefly said this a minute ago, but you have your work, life, emotional stress, which basically results typically in like fear, overwhelm, anxiety, depression, stress. It's like what we feel from all of those outside contributors. So that's the first type of stress, and that's what I think most of us typically associate when we talk about stress.
Yeah.
We then have GI stress. So these are the things like H. pylori, parasites, SIBO, candida, and then emotional stress actually still creates that GI stress, that gut stress, and what's actually happening in our bodies. And so oftentimes people don't realize they may have some of those things going on. Like when you look at us coaches this morning, we're just talking about one of our clients with SIBO and that small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Sorry.
We won't get into the details.
Overgrowth. I like that word.
I know. We won't get into the details, but what I really love is when we talk about this with coaches, we're not taking the place of a clinician. We're not taking the place of a person's medical provider. However, if you have something going on, instead of just masking it, whether it be a prescription, a supplement, whatever, like there are things that can help, like figure out the root cause, because until you do that and try to start correcting it, you're not going to have freedom in all the areas like food freedom, like movement freedom, like sleep freedom, like they're all connected. So that's just a side note.
Yeah, and I think too, like, and I am not slamming doctors because we absolutely need them, but oftentimes if we go to the doctor, they're not necessarily going to give us a protocol for nutrition that could actually help the symptoms that are going on and get to the root cause. So oftentimes as nutrition coaches, we can take somebody who has SIBO, and whether or not they go to a clinician or a doctor and have a prescription, on the flip side of that, we can look at what they're eating and be like, look, these are some of the things that may be causing some of your intestinal problems, and let's see if we can change that with what you are feeding your body. And a lot of times we have great success with different clients with different gut ailments just by shifting the things around that they're eating. So
food is medicine, you guys.
Yeah.
Like food is medicine. And if we can get back to basics, it is amazing what can happen.
And honestly, it's our first line of defense and offense when it comes to the health of our bodies, is what we put in our mouth, what we put on our skin, all of those things. Like we are in 100% control of that. And that is what we should do first and foremost to keep ourselves healthy and doing well. So
it absolutely is. Okay, so we talked about the work-life emotional stress, the GI stress, and then there's the viruses. Like, do you have underlying Epstein-Barr virus? Do you have Lyme? Do you have like underlying, if you get cold sores, like HSV, the herpes simplex virus, like all of those things, they have an impact on our systems. Now, we're gonna talk mostly today about like how stress works in the body and then what we can do about it. Now, if you are in this, like the second or third category that we just talked about, there's going to be a lot more to it. If we're talking primarily about external stressors, we're going to talk about a lot of things that we can do today, but food affects all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
There's also some other stressors, and we're not going to dive deep into these, but there are good stressors on our life, right? So like going to the gym and exercising. Exercising is a stress that we put on our bodies in order to grow and change, right? Yeah. And so we don't want to lose sight of that there are some things in our lives that are good for us that do cause stress, causes a reaction within our bodies that our body recognizes as stress that causes us to change that are good. So we're not necessarily going to dive into those because some of those good stressors are actually what we use to combat some of the bad stressors too.
Okay, I'm just going to talk for a minute about how does stress actually end up equaling adipose tissue, which is fat. So I'm just gonna like take you through that line really quick. And I know I brought like all these diagrams as far as like
she's gonna be shuffling through her papers. Where's the one on this?
I love the technical component. Like I love looking at like the actual effect of like, you know what? Okay, just real quick. real quick.
This one's right.
I promise people, it's
this
right on
diagram's
top.
right on top.
And you probably can't even see this. So I'm just gonna tell you really quick, just the hormone pathways. Like when you're looking at cortisol and then how
which is our stress hormone.
Yes, and we're going to talk more about that. But when you're looking at cortisol, and once again, cortisol in and of itself is not a bad thing, but too much of it is. So if you're looking at like just the ratio between cortisol and DHEA. DHEA is an important hormone. Both men and women have it. Just that in itself, when you're looking at that relationship, it can affect your neural tissue, which is your memory and your learning, your quality of sleep and your mood, your neuronal connectivity. It can affect your endocrine function, which is your pancreas to your insulin, your thyroid function, your ovarian hormone levels. It can affect your metabolism and fat protein, which we're going to talk a lot about today, which is your protein turnover, your weight and fat distribution. It can affect your ability to detox your body on its own, which then comes into play with like heavy metals, which we see a lot of our clients can have an issue with. It can affect your immune regulation. It can affect your like glucose homeostasis, which also feeds into the weight component, your musculoskeletal health, which is going to be like your bone and your muscle health, your connective tissue, all of that. Like it affects everything.
All of it. She doesn't even, you don't really need this.
I don't need it.
It
affects all of it.
Yeah.
And so basically like what is happening is you have a heightened level of stress. And we're not talking about acute stress. We're talking about chronic stress. So consistent ongoing stress, whatever, environmental, if it's in work, if it's in your family, if it's in your finances, if it's over your health, like any type of stress is going to have.
If it's the news, I mean, it really is anything and everything.
It is. And so you have stress, and that's going to have a direct impact on the cortisol that your body is producing throughout the day, which is going to then create more glucose in your blood. Like that response of cortisol in your body leads to more glucose in your blood, which then increases your blood sugar.
Well, hold on. Let's stop there for just a second.
Yeah.
Let's break that down a little bit. So when we have a stressor, whether it's chronic or acute, and it causes our cortisol levels to go up, whether it's a quick rise or if it's just a steady high level of cortisol, our insulin in our blood goes up because our body is trying. Our bodies are actually like super complex, but some of the systems are fairly simple. So the reason why our insulin and our glucose levels go up is because our body is like, we need more energy to get out of the situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't differentiate the kind of stress like, oh, this is
norepinephrine.
Yeah, it's just like, it's stress. Like stress is stress to the body. So then when those levels go up, then all of a sudden our body wants extra energy to fight, to fly, to flee, to freeze, to do all of the things that are like instinctual in us. And that's what causes the increase of insulin and stuff. And then we bring in all the sugar into our bloodstream, and it creates this whole cycle. And it's completely like, it's automatic. It's automatic in us. So anyway, so that's just a little bit of a detail in there that you need to know, because we talk about insulin and glucose a lot, but we don't always couple it with the rise of cortisol, and we need to, because I mean, this is the reason why people hang on to weight oftentimes or gain weight when they're super stressed out.
Yeah. So cortisol's up, glucose in blood goes up, which is then the blood sugar goes up, and then insulin is released in the body to try to lower that blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you have a reuptake in sugar because your body now needs something, and that leads to the storage of adipose tissue, which is fat. AK, I love you. She says, the passion of Emmy is a vibe. Thank you.
She is a vibe. She's always a vibe.
And as Haley does too, like there's so much information that just gives a whether you want a simple or a complex explanation as to like why our bodies are doing what they're doing, and there are things we can do about it.
For the simple explanation, and she can give you the more detailed explanation.
And I look at this, and does that mean I do everything right 100% of the time? No. But if we have the tools to equip ourselves, it makes it so much easier when we're in those situations so that we can relax our bodies and like get the most, like so many of us are like trying to eat clean, trying to sleep good, trying to exercise, trying to do all the things. If we're doing all that and we have this high constant stress in our life, like we are working against ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's things we can all do, and we will not master them overnight, but we can all do them.
And we'll get to those in just a minute.
Okay, so now you have this crazy circle that's happening. I actually even drew myself this little, I just wish you guys could see this.
Maybe we'll post a picture.
I mean, whether it's true stress or perceived stress, and that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
It leads to the norepinephrine. Your body doesn't know if you are running from a tiger or if you are worried about a meeting you have the next morning and the conversation you have to have. Like, it does not know the difference.
And it doesn't matter. Like, our bodies react in the same way.
So now you have this high norepinephrine, and then it's going to increase that cortisol, and it's going to increase that glucose, it's going to increase that blood sugar, that's going to like create this whole it's going to increase the insulin to try to bring the blood sugar down, and now your body has this like whole effect that's happening, and it's going to shunt that right into your adipose tissue, and it's just going to go sorry, we crack ourselves
That's what it
up.
sounds like.
And think about versus that's what I want, the second one.
That's what we all want. We all want.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Not.
Okay, guys.
Well, you know what else though? And I read this, and this is news to me this morning. Well, maybe I read it a couple days ago, but I wrote it down because I wanted you guys to hear it, because it's actually this crazy vicious cycle that our bodies do. So excess body fat, which we all have some excess body fat, most of us, sends a signal to our brains that triggers stress. So if you are carrying around extra added weight, that alone, that extra adipose tissue sends signals to our brain saying, this is not right, be stressed out. And so being stressed out causes us to hang on to extra weight, causes us to gain weight, and then that weight tells us to be stressed out about it, right? And so it's this cycle that we have to break. We have to get in there, we have to break the chain, and we have to do something about it. And we are 100% in control, not of all of our bodily systems, but we are in control of a lot of things. So anyway.
We absolutely are. Before we get away from that too much and start talking about these other things, this is, I think, a better, clearer explanation of that cycle that we just did. And I'm just going to read this. And it's, after prolonged stress, the body begins to lower its output of DHEA, which we talked about. That's a hormone that both men and women produce, while increasing the chronic stress hormone production, so norepinephrine and cortisol. This unfortunately begins to create immune, blood sugar, inflammation, muscle, weight gain, energy, detox, and various other health imbalances. And so it's crazy. And then from a hormonal standpoint, it actually robs you of your progesterone. So a lot of females then experience estrogen dominance, and that comes with this whole cascade of health risks and symptoms. And you know, we could get into the hormonal pathways a ton. I love that. But like, it's
maybe
just,
on another life.
Okay. But all of this is to say, like, we all talk about how bad stress is for us, right? Or maybe we don't all talk about it, but I think we all know it.
We all know it, yeah.
And it's easy to say, like, oh, my stress is too high, but you guys, it literally is killing us.
Yeah.
Like, it is shortening our lifespan.
And the fact that Emmy is saying this out loud brings me great hope, because let me just say a few things about a little bit of story time.
Oh, boy.
Not when I first met Emmy, but actually within like the last, I'd say 5 years, Emmy's life is just, she takes on a lot, right? And she tends to live at a higher stress level than a lot of people that I know. And many of our friends would concur with me about this. And she has gone to great lengths to reduce the amount of stress on her life. And I think that there was a time period when she was really sick, like chronically ill, like she could not get beyond it. And a lot of us really feel like, yes, she had underlying things going on, but stress was really kind of, I think, the main culprit of a lot of it. And so to know somebody so well and to see them, you know, struggle with stress in a certain way and have it really affect their healthy lifestyle. You know, she was super healthy, ate clean, exercised, all the things, but was like really chronically ill. To come out of that and to have a new, like, almost focus on life of reducing the amount of stress that she's been putting on her body and seeing her flourish in such a beautiful way is like, oh my gosh, we all need to do that for ourselves, you know? And I think that it's also a good reminder for us, like, for our close friends. If you have a close friend who you know is always stressed out, if their life is stressful, then what can we do as friends to help reduce that stress for them? So anyway, I'm really proud of her.
And I'm so thankful for you. And it's so true, because you can't fully eliminate stress. Like, do I still have high stress lifestyle? I guess you could
Look
say.
at her fingernails. She's a fingernail chewer.
That is so gross. It's so gross. I do. However, I am able to have better stress resilience. And I've always been really fortunate to have like strong relationships, a strong social circle. Like, I've had a lot of the tools, but I didn't have boundaries. And it's a work in progress, and breath work can make a huge difference. Gratitude, devotions, like what we're going to get into a lot of exercise. Like, I was doing most all of those things before, but it's really allowing yourself to step back. Like, if you find yourself immune compromised, if you're constantly getting sick and you're a pretty young, healthy person, like, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And so it's taking an inventory, and it's stepping back, and even that can feel overwhelming when your plate is really full. And like figuring out like what is serving you and your family and or your friends and what isn't, and where can you start to maybe simplify a little bit. Like, I would be a hypocrite if I said that I have the magic solution, because I don't, but I've taken steps towards putting some things in place that helps life be more manageable. And I've always had a high joy meter, but now I actually can actually enjoy life a little bit more.
She can enjoy the joy.
Yeah. So enough talk about me. We're gonna talk about like actual tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to talk any more about stress itself, or do you want to talk about what we can all do?
No, I think that kind of the simplest way to look at stress too is, like we said, our bodies don't recognize, like, oh, this is this kind of stress and that kind of stress. Like, stress is just stress, and our bodies react hormonally to it, which causes all of these cyclical changes in our body that we have to be aware of. And I think that knowledge is power. And so if you know what your body is going to do and how your body is going to react in a certain situation, then you can start taking steps to alleviate some of that ahead of time. If you're headed into a stressful meeting, if you know that like the next week is going to be really hard for your kids at school and you're going to take on extra stress because of that, then there are things you can do up front ahead of it to help you while you're going through it. And I think that, we'll talk about that, but this is just so important. I feel like, especially in America, so I just came back from vacation, and we were in Costa Rica, and there's a saying down there that and it's just like, and it's basically like, no worries, like just chill out.
Worries.
Yeah, that's a different movie.
I know.
That's Hakuna Matata. But anyway, and it's just like being able to step aside and to look at a different people group, a different culture, and see how they manage their stress, which feels like they just have very little stress there, was like refreshing. It was like, oh my word, like we get all uptight and bent out of shape about so many little things that don't matter, that shouldn't bring on stress, and like, how do we alleviate that and get rid of some of that in our lives?
Yeah. I think a big thing for me, because we as men, I'm sure too, but especially as women, like, we want to be all to all.
Yeah.
And
all the time.
And a lot of us are like building careers or building businesses, or
raising
helping
families.
raising our babies, trying to be good wives, trying to be homemakers, like following dreams, trying to exercise, like all the things. And there is a way to look at your plate and figure out what are the things that are going to bring me energy and joy, like really, and what are some of the things that are bringing me the most stress, whether it be finances, relationship, work, whatever it may be. Like, actually take an inventory and allow yourself the exercise of like writing those things down. And they might not be constants, they might vary, but then start to come up with a plan as to how you can start shifting some of the things that are bringing you the more heightened stress. And sometimes it's really difficult because it might not be a situation that you can necessarily change, but you can change how you're responding to it. And I'm not meaning like physically responding to it, I mean internally responding to it. And there's so much out of our control, and I think let's get into some of that meat, but let's first just recap.
Hi, Kimmy! We love you!
We love you all.
We love you all, but Kimmy, she needs a little extra love. She is not feeling well right now.
Yeah, she just hopped on.
Yeah.
Okay, so in recap, we are talking about stress and its effect on our metabolism and on our inability to shed fat and or what leads to fat storage. And so we also talked about that if you're just joining us, if you comment or ask a question, share a tip, anything that you want on Facebook and or Instagram, we're gonna just put you all into a little drawing tomorrow because we'll post these after the fact and you can comment then too, and we'll just do a little surprise. But the nutshell of basically what happens when we have chronic stress, high stress over a period of time is that stress is going to lead to norepinephrine and cortisol. Basically, your body thinks that you're being attacked and it has its stress defenses. That's going to lead to an increase in glucose, which is going to lead to an increase in blood sugar, which is going to lead blood sugar, which is going to lead to an increase in insulin because it's going to try to bring that blood sugar down.
Ooh, which then, when your blood sugar goes up and then goes down, you guys remember we've talked about this before, what happens? It makes you want to eat something, right? You'll get a food craving, usually for something sugary, something high in carbs, because your body's trying to replenish those carbohydrates that had just burned up with all of the cortisol and adrenaline and norepinephrine and all of that. It's trying to replace that energy. And so then you go to the fridge and you look for something quick, you know, whether you want it or not. Like our bodies are pretty basic sometimes, and it's just like, feed me.
Hey. So if you are watching on Facebook, you don't see the Instagram comments, so we apologize.
That was just a hey from Instagram.
Random. Yeah. Anyway, so then what ends up happening after that whole cascade is it affects your adipose tissue, and your body stores that as fat.
Yeah, so you go to the fridge, you eat the quick food, and then you go back and sit on the couch because you're stressed out, and then you just store it. You don't, then you're not going to burn it. So
yeah.
And I think that people react to stress in a couple of different ways. Like our bodies all react to cortisol and adrenaline, like the hormonal change, pretty similarly. But like I know a lot of people who, when they're super stressed out, they do one of two things. They either stop eating, like completely like stop eating, which is really unhealthy also, which then affects your metabolism, because then your metabolism doesn't know what's coming and going, and it starts adapting to like a very low calorie, especially if it's chronic and you're doing it day after day. It adapts to this very low calorie level, and then it just starts storing, right? Because it's like, oh, this is a famine. We need to store everything for when we have to flee or whatever it is. And so there's people who do that, and then there's other people who do quite the opposite, and they overeat, whether it's emotional eating, eating out of boredom, eating because you're stressed, and then your body stores the extra. So it's kind of this horrible cycle. You really have to manage it when you're stressed, and I think that it's difficult. But I think that it's one thing that you can be in control of in a really stressful situation when you feel out of control of the whole world. Yeah. If you can control your nutrition and what you're eating, that is a point that you need to like hang on to and be like, I can control this, and then really take advantage of that, because that's going to really do you well in the long run.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 80-20 rule and how that applies in this setting. In most things in life, you can look at things from like the 80-20 rule. Like, is there 80% you control and 20% you can't, or can you flip-flop those, or however that may be?
Or you should get rid of 20% of the clothes that you don't wear and keep the 80% that you do.
Or maybe 80% that you don't.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe it's the other way.
Either way. And when we're looking at the stressors that we can identify in our life, whether that be, once again, maybe some relationships that you have in your life, maybe something specifically in your work environment, maybe a financial stressor that you continue to run into.
Maybe it's negative self-talk. Yeah. Negative self-talk is a big stressor. If you go to the fridge and you eat something sugary and then you are just demeaning yourself all day long, like that is not good for your health. Like that is stressful for your body.
Comparison, like a lot of people really struggle with that. If you find yourself feeling down after you're on social media or whatever it may be, like put limits on that for yourself, and or unfollow accounts that like are not having you leave feeling positive or uplifted. If the news, I mean, I'm a little out of touch. I used to be really in touch. Like I used to really follow the news and current events, and I still think that there is some merit to that for people. But I've just decided that's like one less thing in my life. Like I don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah, same. And it has eliminated so much unnecessary stress, like stuff that I don't need to worry about that doesn't actually like impact me on a day-to-day. Yes, I know the big things that are going on. Like I'm not completely out of touch, and neither are you. But I think that just the constant input of negative, news that we get, like it's not good for our brains. So yeah, totally don't watch the news anymore.
We said, I went through this when caring for my father before he passed away. I was using carb sugar to survive, but truly I could feel in my body. I feel so much better now on macros. I'm so glad.
Yay.
It is amazing just in the regulation of our blood sugar when we start eating and fueling our bodies consistently, what can shift emotionally and cognitively. And, we talk about like macro magic, and it's amazing because of how the effect that nutrition has on all of our systems. Like it really is. And so I'm so glad that you've experienced that. That's awesome. Okay, so going back to the stressors in life, I would say if you can take a moment, let's say 5 minutes or less, because we recognize a lot of people are busy, and just take an inventory of like the last week or the last month. In the last week or the last month, what are some of the things that you can identify that have left you in a stressful state? And then of those, because oftentimes the 80-20 rule, like, let's focus on what we can change and leave the other stuff aside for now.
Yeah.
And so let's focus on what we can change. Of those, what are maybe the first easiest ones that you can knock down? Now, we're both actually really fortunate to have really positive relationships in our life. And I know that's not necessarily the case for everybody. And relationships oftentimes is one of the biggest stressors for people. And so years and years ago, I had a mentor that said this often, and it has always stuck with me. And that was looking at and I hate to put people in categories, but if you look at the relationships in your life and you really look at those that are energizers for you, those that are neutralizers for you, and those that are drainers for you. And, we all are going to go through seasons where maybe we need a little bit more, and so take that into context. But if you have people in your life that maybe you can start to shift your relationship with that consistently fall into that drainer category for you, you might not know how much of an impact they're having on your ability to have a little bit more of a cohesive level. And so that's another thing to just really inventory.
Yeah.
And once you've done that exercise of really looking at the last week, the last month, of what are some of the things that have notably increased your stress response, that have maybe increased your heart rate, that have made it so that you're clenching, that you're tightening, that you're having a hard time relaxing your mind at night, that you are finding that you're using things like food for a coping mechanism, like any of those things, like what are creating that? And of that, what are the things that you actually have control over starting to change? And what's the first step you're going to do to change that? Yeah. Because just the simple act of identifying and having a plan can actually really help.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like overscheduling, like, and overcommitting, and at least it used to be more so, and I still have a really full.
I'll be like, hey, can we get together? She's like, well, let me move some things around. Oh my gosh. Always.
But you know what? It's just more manageable because you just, it's okay it's okay to recognize that you can't do it all and do what you can and like feel okay with that.
And I'm giving everybody here permission to say no. I don't know when or how. I think I learned it from my mom at a very young age, actually, that like it is okay to say no to people. Like that is an option that you have, and that is, a boundary that you get to set for yourself. Like you can say no to maybe you can say no when you need to. Yeah. And I think that that's really important to know that you can do that and to be confident enough to do that for yourself.
That's one thing I've always, there's a lot I really appreciate about Haley, but one thing that she has always done such a good job of is like understanding her boundaries. And, sometimes she'll have to bend those a little bit to get it all done, but like she's just really clear on like, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do. If it falls in the not going to do category, I ain't doing it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not checking your messages till 10 a.m. or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know. It's okay to set boundaries. And I think especially like if you're a female, a woman listening and you're doing all the things, like you feel like you can't set boundaries.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I think that it's your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, with your coworkers, with, you know, all of the people. And if you're communicative about those boundaries and people don't respect them, well, that's on them. You know, like you set the boundaries.
Oh no. Facebook disconnected for just a second. One thing on that too, and we talk to this about clients a lot with macros specifically, like if people are asking them like, well, why are you doing that? Like, why are you measuring your food or whatever it may be? If you associate what you're doing with how you're feeling, oftentimes people are so accepting of that. Not that you need people's stamp of approval, but just saying like, well, I'm doing this because I want to understand what is fueling me, what is helping me, what makes me feel my best, what helps me sleep better. Like people are like, oh, cool. Same thing with like, I retracted my involvement in several boards that I sat on, and that was really hard for me. And I just said like, you know, in this season, I really need to be putting my energy towards X, Y, and Z. I'm still a huge fan. I'm still a huge supporter. But right now I can't continue to make this commitment. Like they were totally cool. I just had to actually put that out there. And that's a hard thing to do for a lot of us. And so just making that evaluation, like it's just,
and I think also when we don't know exactly what is stressing us out, in the moment we can be like, oh, I know that this meeting is stressful or whatever. But when you sit down and really take an inventory of the things that are fueling you and the things that are stressing you out and you put it on paper, then you can start to say, well, if I did X, Y, and Z on this list, it would actually move the thing that's stressing me out to the thing that brings me joy. And a very simple explanation and example of that is, before I started macros years and years ago, I would just eat whatever I wanted for breakfast. Like it didn't even matter. When I started a macro plan, I was really hesitant to, to eat the same food over and over again because I thought I'm going to get bored. I'm going to hate this. And I started eating the same breakfast every day. And what was a little bit stressful for me, like, oh my gosh, is it going to fit into my macros? All the things. All of a sudden flipped to giving me so much freedom. It eliminated so much stress. And you know what? I love my breakfast.
Yeah.
I still love it. I eat the same thing every day basically. And I love it. And so it's just a super like...
one more decision you don't have to make.
minute little example. But like those are the things, like little things, a bunch of little things add up to a big thing. So take the steps you need. Recognize what is stressing you out and what is bringing you joy and see if you can flip it.
Yeah.
And some tools to help you with that, we're going to get into. Are we ready for that now?
I do want to say, so like if you focus on the 80-20 rule, you take the inventory. I do think that there's some things you can do when you have high chronic stress, things that you can do in the short term to really help like hit it on the head. And then I also think that there's things that you can do for like long-term strategy. Yeah. So, you know, short-term, obviously, you know, we've talked about nutrition being a huge one. So the biggest thing from a nutrition standpoint, you know, obviously macros is queen, as we like to say, but just starting by eliminating processed foods, because those processed foods, things like nitrates and dyes and seed oils and all of those things, they don't let your body work as best as it can. So you don't have the stress resilience that you need to combat that. And they have a negative impact on the things that we've talked about today, like your nervous system, your endocrine system, your immune system, that are then not allowing your body to properly respond. So eliminating processed foods is huge. Another thing you can do, and obviously we do want people to get as many of their vitamins and supplements from food as they can, but there is some supplementation. Now, once again, we have to be careful. We don't want to take the place of your clinician by any means, but there is some supplementation you might want to consider if you find yourself in a higher stress lifestyle, even if it's healthy stress, just to make sure that you are not depleting your body too much and that you have foundationally what you need to function. And I just made a quick list. B vitamins are huge. You know, really pay attention to what you're getting if you're getting them in your multi. Zinc is huge. Magnesium is huge. I mean, I love magnesium.
Magnesium is so good for so many things. If you're not taking magnesium just in general, like you should be taking magnesium.
You absolutely should. And I take mine at night, and there's lots of reasons for relaxation,
Same
for
Z's.
digestion, all the things. Vitamin C, I particularly like a high-dose vitamin C liposomal if you can, because then it doesn't hurt
Did you guys
my
hear
tummy.
that? Her
I'm actually
stomach is
hungry.
growling. Like, that was loud.
I'm excited to eat. Glutamine is huge. Omegas are huge. A number of the ingredients in our Mighty Metabolism are actually really good for your nervous system, your endocrine system, your immune system, well, all your systems really, kind of bringing that together. So,
but
just
super
having
sleep coupled with Mighty Metabolism at the end of the day helps keep your cortisol levels nice and balanced also.
It does. That was one of the things we were most excited about with super sleep, is its ability to help regulate healthy cortisol levels throughout the day. So
just a little plug.
Yeah. And so like supplementation, you know, once again, you don't want to just take a supplement to mask a symptom, just like you don't want to just take a prescription to mask a symptom. Like, you want to find the root cause. But if you are undergoing consistent stress, chronic stress, even if it's healthy stress, you're likely depleting your body of some of those things we just talked about, and supplementing to some degree with those can be really helpful. So let's talk about long-term strategies.
Yeah. So there's lots, and there's some that you'll hear us talk about lots and lots of times, like over and over and over and over again. We will talk about breath work until we're blue in the face, like we were holding our breath. Punny. Anyway, breath work. Yeah. Breath work is so important. And when we say breath work, I mean, it could be as simple. We talk about box breathing all the time. Like, if you are in a stressful situation, if you're about to go into a stressful situation, if you just box breathe, and Emil, well, I can explain.
Last time we did this on a live, I like took you guys through box breathing, and Haley's like, that was awkward.
Well, yeah, because I'm like laying in her bed, breathing. I don't know. Anyway. Anyway, so 4-second inhale, you can hold for 4 seconds, but you're just like basically outlining a box. If you close your eyes and you picture a box, inhale for 4 seconds. You can or cannot hold your breath if you want to for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Same, you can hold or not hold. Inhale, and you're basically working around the box. You can do it as many times as you want. 1 minute changes your whole outlook sometimes. I have an alert on my Apple Watch that tells me to breathe, and it's just like 1 minute takes you through like just simple inhale, exhale, like slow breathing for 1 minute, and it really does make a difference.
Well, when you, and we won't get too technical at the moment, but it's not just the act of like relaxing your body with a breath. What's actually happening in your body to have a positive effect on your gut and your brain when you're breathing is really profound. And so yes, using box breathing or even just measured deep breaths in the moment, and or just making it part of your day, starting your day, having a reminder on your watch or your phone, whatever it may be, just to take those breaths. Another thing, especially when you are like have a heightened shoo. Oh, he's sweat.
It's just Emmy's chihuahua.
She's not a chihuahua. She's a miniature husky, and Haley makes fun of her.
She's very majestic.
So anyways,
sorry.
Clenching and releasing. Like, if you even just do that right now, like clench your entire body, clench your jaw, like, and really it actually works to start here and work your way down. So like if you clench your jaw and relax it, clench your shoulders and relax them. Like, if that feels good, your fists, relax. Like, you can do it in your core and relax. Don't create something there. Anyways, going through from your head to your toes and like that clench and relax, like it what it's doing in your body, once again, is more than just the relaxation component of it. And so you might want to clear that just in case it's affecting it. Never mind. Sorry. And so breath work, the clench and relax, like all of those things are going to help both in the moment and just help how your body is responding to things. They're just little tools in your toolbox. Getting adequate sleep is going to be maybe the number one thing that you can do to have your body set up foundationally to be more resilient to stress. When we sleep, our body, our cells cleans itself out of all of the gunk. It's that restorative time. Like, you're wanting to get both deep sleep and REM sleep. We've both been tracking our sleep, and we're going to share more of our data, but I was helping a friend this weekend and got like 2 to 3 hours of sleep on Saturday night, and I haven't done that in a long time. And oh my gosh, its effect on my ability to like function properly yesterday. Now that's an extreme example, but Like,
but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like even when I was on vacation, we spent an entire day at Disneyland. Like this was a poor decision. Went from Disneyland to the airport, hopped on a red eye, and flew for like 5 hours. Well, thinking like, oh, I can sleep on an airplane. I've flown quite a bit, no problem. I bet. Well, according to my ring, I slept about an hour and 40 minutes, and then, you know, it affects everything thereafter. Like I had crazy brain fog. Like I couldn't remember what email I needed information. It created like a whole cascade of problems throughout the day. And then I was just trashed. Like what I thought was going to be like an amazing first day on vacation, we all ended up being totally trashed and having to make up for it, which you can.
And so yesterday, like I tracked my stats, and it was really interesting. I had a heightened, like my resting heart rate was higher. My oxygen saturation was a little bit off. Like and then my latency, like how long it took me to fall asleep last night, like from the time I laid in bed to the time my watch said I was asleep, because it tracks that, it's called latency, was like 2 minutes, which you want it to be a little bit longer than that because your body wants to go through like a cycle of relaxation. And so just looking at what it's actually doing inside your body and thinking about that compounding over time, if it's not even the length of time you're in bed, it's the quality of the sleep. Like my husband and I get less sleep in terms of the amount of time in bed than him, but my quality of sleep is better than his. So in essence, I'm actually getting more recovery in less amount of time. And so we've both been tracking that and playing around with his and working through that. And it's so interesting.
Yeah. And when you don't get good sleep, your body is naturally stressed. So it perpetuates the problem that we're trying to fix.
Yeah, and we did a whole live on sleep. So definitely go and check that out, because we really talk about things you can do to help improve both the quality and the quantity of your sleep and why that's so important.
So important.
Exercise, like moving your body, is so good for your body and your brain and your ability to have stress resilience. Mm-hmm. So if you're not currently moving your body, starting simple with just walking every day, working your way up to 10,000 or more steps a day, then maybe adding a little bit of resistance training in, then maybe a little bit of interval training in, depending on your goals. Like don't go from 0 to 60 or it won't be sustainable, but moving your body every single day. Even not, recovery is important, so we're not telling you to go out and do like a really hard cortisol producing workout every day, but you do need to move your body, even if it's low intensity, steady state, like the walking. Like it's so important. Now if you're trying to build muscle or see muscle, you need to do resistance training, but not every day.
Lift some weights.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are great tips. And actually I feel like on days when I don't exercise, then I am like a little bit angsty, and I'm like, I just need to go move my body, and then all of a sudden everything's good.
My family can tell you, like, I start my day with movement, and if I don't, like I just get kind of cagey.
Ooh, cagey, I like that word. Like Nicholas Cagey?
Well,
sorry. I understand. Angsty, cagey, yeah.
Oh, this next one is maybe my favorite. Humor. She's funny. She's real funny.
Not intentionally.
Oh, she's funny. You guys, find yourself some friends that you can laugh with.
Oh my gosh,
like, they're out there. And my goodness, like, humor does the body good. And, like, not just relaxing your body in the moment, like, what is actually happening from an endorphin standpoint in your body to provide you more stress resilience. Yeah, it affects your joy meter, all the things, but like laughing and humor are so important.
Yeah.
And
so
it can't be forced. Like,
you can't fake it. Yeah. If it's not funny, it's not funny. Don't fake it.
Yeah, like just authentic laughter is the best.
Yeah.
So, and if you're struggling to find authentic friendships, like maybe look at some things that you're into and like get involved in some groups of people with similar interests.
Join Macro Mavens. We are funny. And we have these private groups and we laugh a lot.
Yeah, we like to think we're funny. She's funny.
No, she's pretty funny. I think she's funny.
I laugh a lot, but
she does things that are really funny. A lot.
Not on purpose.
She's really good at parkour in town.
All right. We've talked about this before too, and I think maybe we've done an entire live on it, and that is just gratitude.
Oh yeah.
Like the act of gratitude And what that does, in fact, right now, like take a moment and just think of something that you are particularly grateful for today.
Can I say mine out loud?
Please.
I am really thankful that we live in Southern Oregon and we have not seen rain in a long time, and it has been raining all day. It is so wonderful. It was snowing in the mountains. I am like overjoyed.
We're hay farmers and we need the rain, so it's like the biggest blessing.
She says we. She doesn't mean we.
My family.
I am not a hay farmer. I don't know the first thing about hay farming.
It's fun.
Sometimes. I know what hay is.
So gratitude, like start your day. And I know several of us like jump up and hit the ground running in the morning. You can take 2 minutes. You can take 2 minutes before you turn your phone on, before you go pee, or maybe while you go pee. Like
while you're driving to the gym, while you're making your coffee.
Yeah, take 2 minutes, preferably writing it down. But if not, like if you are a praying person, like starting your day with prayer and gratitude. Like if you're not, like gratitude at minimum, like really focus on what you're thankful for, because if we start our day in that mindset, in that positive mindset, it is amazing what that does, even hormonally in our body, like even from like a neurotransmitter standpoint in our gut into our brain. Like it has such an impact. And so
and when you start your day like thinking negative thoughts, it's really easy to continue thinking negative thoughts throughout the day and see things really negatively. The inverse of that is true also. If you start with positivity and gratitude, then you will find things throughout your day that are also positive, that make you happy, that make you smile. So start your day with gratitude. It's good for you.
It is. And throughout your day, like, even taking like sticky notes if you need to, and put them in places you got, like on your mirror where you get ready, in your bathroom, on your car dash, maybe like by your coffee maker, wherever it may be, and just put little notes of gratitude, because you're going to see those. They're going to bring a smile to your face. Maybe you could write yourself a joke.
Like, make yourself laugh.
Yeah, like whatever it may be. Like those little things are powerful, and kids love those things too. Yeah. And so like we need to talk kindly to ourselves and kindly to other people.
Yeah, and I used to stick notes on like my kid's bathroom mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't done that in a while. I'm going to start doing that again tomorrow.
Yeah,
thanks, bud.
It's, I had a friend, I don't know if she's on here, she posted a story this morning, it was hilarious, that she leaves her kids sticky notes, and she always tries to put nice handwriting on them in case she dies, and that's the note that her kids get tattooed on them. And then she's like, I'm going to start purposefully spelling a word wrong, so that joke's on them, so that they have to put the wrong spelling on their tattoo. I'm like, that's a little dark.
Oh man, that's funny. I know.
That. Anyways, so we've talked about breath work. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about nutrition a ton. We've talked about supplementation. We've talked about exercise. We've talked about humor. We've talked about mindfulness and or gratitude. On that note, starting with a plan. Like if you can start your day with a plan, oftentimes it's going to decrease the overwhelm, depending on if that's something that you struggle with or not. So one thing that I really like to do before I go to bed, because this has also helped my sleep, is just I have a journal by my bed, and I'll just write out my plan that I already kind of have that I move over. I have a little bit of a system, but I can go into a plan of what my priorities are, things that I need to remind myself, because historically, not anymore, I would like wake up and have that racing brain and thinking about all the things. Well, if I already have a plan.
This is Betsy, by the way. she is the majestic one. She's my favorite.
She's pretty special.
I'm her favorite too. And I'm not the other one's favorite, so sorry.
So anyways, going into the day and then waking up, you already have a plan. It takes the guesswork out of it for you. It helps you be a little bit more relaxed. Take that moment for gratitude. Go into your day. Discipline can set you free. A little bit of routine. I fight a routine because I don't like to be super scripted, but certain things from a routine standpoint, so that you just have them there and have them handy, like makes such a difference in your stress. Like it's huge. Even just how you grocery shop, or what you have on hand, or like, when things are going to be, or all of that can just make such a difference. And then I think a big one is support. Like if you don't have support and you don't have an easy way to get it, there are a lot of resources out there.
Join Macro Mavens. We will support you.
We will. And I mean, really, like having a coach in a lot of different areas of life can be so helpful. And or a counselor if you need it. Like if you're really struggling, like there is no shame in asking for help. No. whether it be from a friend or from a professional, like stress is real, and it can run havoc on all of the things that we've talked about. And having a good support system, like if you can help create that in your own home, like that is best case scenario. But if you're struggling in that setting and that's not something that feels realistic to you, if you have a really good friend group, like that's amazing. If you don't, and like you really feel pretty isolated, like reaching out for help is really important.
And that alone is putting you first, right? We talk a lot about how you need to take care of yourself first so that then you can be the best person to help take care of your family members and the people you love. Yeah. So if that's something that you need to do to take care of yourself, then by all means do it. I told my daughter actually last night, she was really stressed out about one of her grades. She's a really good student, like really like a very, very good student. And she was stressed out about one of her grades, and she didn't want to ask her teacher for help on an assignment that she didn't fully understand because she didn't want to look weak in front of her teacher who knows she's a really strong student. And so I was telling her, I was like, you know what? I said, it actually shows more strength when you don't know something, when you need something, to then be able to reach out and ask the people for help who can help you. That in itself is strength. And it's the weak person who can't ask for help when they need it that, you know, you're just showing your weakness. You're like, it's almost like a pride thing. Like, oh, I don't want that person to know that I need help. And so you don't ask for it. And that alone is weakness. Yeah. So if you need help with something, like seek it out and get it from the people that you need it from. Get it from a professional, get it from a friend, get it from a family member. Give us a call, drop us a message. We would love to chat with you about stuff. So,
and I know that, you know, we say that and a little bit tongue in cheek, but we're serious too, because
for sure.
We find that it's all related, right? So we work with our clients on nutrition primarily, but that really spills over to like, how is stress impacting them? What does their week look like? Like, are they stress eating? What does their relationship look with food? Are they sleeping? Like all of those things, because it really takes the whole body approach. Like it really does. And you know, that's what we want to be. We want to be, you know, the food, yes, is really critical. But it's so much more than that.
Yeah,
so
it is. It's a community.
It's a community, and boy, do we have a good one.
Yeah, we've been on here. We've been talking a lot about it, but you know what? We want to be able to provide a service to you guys. We want to come on here and be able to chat about things that matter, give you some tools to take home with you, that if you know, come on and listen and you're like, man, if I can catch the last few minutes and get a couple nuggets to take home and you know, to learn how to de-stress a little bit. We're not perfect. You know, we both live really busy, really stressful lives, and we're just in it just like you guys, trying to manage the best that we can. So,
and making the most of it. Like, you guys, life is short, and there is so much goodness to be had out there, and we get in our own ways sometimes. So if we can have tools to remove those obstacles and to be able to have a manageable, sometimes chaotic, but manageable plate, and like really invest in like our friendships, our relationships,
that's
the things that bring you joy. She is not a chihuahua. Okay, so let's recap.
Let's do it.
Okay, so
wrap it up.
We're gonna wrap it up in a little bit. So stress is dangerous over time. Stress is necessary at times, absolutely. Is there good stress? For sure. However, the overall picture of what chronic stress can do over a period of time, it can lay a lot of damage onto your body, including your metabolism and your body's inability to shed fat. And so we did talk about that whole cycle. I'll just real quickly, like, you have increased stress over a prolonged period of time. You're going to have an increased level of cortisol and norepinephrine because your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a tiger and or whatever the stress may be. So that's going to happen, which is going to create an increase in glucose, which is going to create an increase in your blood sugar, which is going to create an increase in your insulin because it's going to try to shove down that blood sugar, which is going to create a whole host of things in terms of hormone imbalance, could create thyroid imbalance, could create immune system issues, and that is when that blood sugar tried to get pushed down or drops from the insulin. That can create things like insulin resistance over time, and then you're going to have more cravings, and then your body's in essence going to store the extra in your adipose tissue, which is your fat, which is that we talked about when we want it to be.
Yeah, and often too, and we didn't mention this earlier, but often stress-induced fat is belly fat.
Yeah.
Like we get it around our bellies and we get it around our organs, which is like kind of the worst.
Yeah.
And then I had mentioned also when you have excess body fat, it triggers your brain to be stressed out, which then triggers the whole cycle to restart itself. It's a vicious downward cycle that you can take control of.
You don't have to have hormone hurricanes.
No,
you can have
hormone harmony. Oh boy.
Okay, so what can you do about it?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is going to be taking that inventory, using the 80-20 rule, like really start to identify what are some of the things that are consistently creating, and where can you start? Where's the take the low-hanging fruit. It can just be the first step. Like that can make a huge difference. And then if you need to, maybe use a little bit of supplementation as you're really starting to put some of these tools in place. We specifically talked about talking with your medical provider, but we talked about B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, glutamine, omegas, mighty metabolism, super sleep. All of those can have a profound effect on your body's ability to be more stress resilient if you need them. I just put a note here that I don't think I shared, but vitamins, minerals, and amino acids buffer stress response and metabolize carbs for glucose, which is a great thing.
You want that.
Other things, we talked about breath work, how powerful that can be. We talked about sleep, really quality sleep, so that you're getting good, deep and REM sleep, so that your cells are cleaning themselves out, you're restoring your body and your brain while you're sleeping. Exercise, humor, get some funny friends. I got some. Mindfulness, gratitude, prayer, like all those things, starting your day that way and really starting with that positive mindset. Thinking about how you can make an impact. Like that's huge. How can you bring joy to others? You will bring joy to yourself. You absolutely will. Making a plan so that you start your day with a plan is going to naturally decrease your stress levels. Like just plan for a plan makes a big difference.
Make a plan to make a plan.
And then getting a support system if you don't already have one, and really understanding what that can do, because I'm sure you're providing support for people in your life too, and there are all seasons in all of our lives where maybe we need a little bit more, we need to give a little bit more, but if you don't have that support system and it's not something that you can easily ascertain, reaching out for help if you're really struggling is really important.
Yep.
So that's the nutshell.
That's it. That's a big nut.
It's a big, yeah, we cracked it.
Yeah, we did. I like that.
Yeah.
If you are curious about macros, or you have an interest, or you want to chat, you can hop over to macromavens.life, click on the howdy button. It'll ask you a couple of questions.
Hop on board.
Hop on board. That's right. It doesn't commit you to anything. It just starts a conversation. We would love to work with you guys. We love what we do here. It is so fun.
We got some hearts.
Yay!
Thanks.
We love that too. What else? Oh, if you're curious about Mighty Metabolism and Super Sleep, you can get those on our website. If you're local to Southern Oregon, you can head down to Velamos Boutique in Central Point. And Kim down there does a wonderful job. She stocks our Super Sleep and our Mighty Metabolism, and you can get a really cute dress while you're there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And you guys, if there's subjects that you want us to tackle, we would love to. If you have questions anytime, send us a message. We do our best to get back to those. And yeah, it's just been, we just passed our 1 year anniversary, and this has been a lifelong thing for us.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to share something real personal, because we talked about like past stress and all that. Like, this is something that's been a dream of Haley and I's, and now we get to do this with the most amazing group of coaches that are so knowledgeable, and our client community is really growing, and like we are stepping away from some other things in life to really put our focus into this, and that in itself is accomplishing what we've talked about today, and it's like so exciting, and you guys are allowing us to do that.
Yeah.
So it's really
It's scary, it's exciting, it's fun, and
yeah,
it's kind of a big deal.
Yep.
So, anyway, we love you guys. Thanks for being here. Sorry on Facebook. I think that I had to reconnect twice.
We got like a whole bunch of hearts.
Wow. Yes. Anyway, have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you back here next week.
Take a deep breath. Take a drink of water. Move your body a little bit. And get some good sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
See ya.
Bye, guys.